Imagine trying to read the room on a fast-moving topic. But, you are only allowed to read polished corporate press releases. That is what AI research feels like right now. Beat.
Yeah, it really is just a frustrating bottleneck for people.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are unpacking a really fascinating open-source tool. It's a trending GitHub repository called the Last 30 Days Skill.
We're specifically looking at how it integrates directly into Claude Code.
Right, exactly. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We are going to unpack why regular AI web search is too shallow. We will look at why full deep research is too heavy, and we will see how this new tool acts as a perfect middle ground.
It basically helps you find real, messy, unfiltered user sentiment, which is honestly becoming incredibly rare on the internet.
I actually have a personal admission to make here. I still wrestle with getting AI to find actual human opinions. I try prompting it, a dozen different ways, but it always defaults to reciting these safe Wikipedia summaries.
Well, that happens because standard models prioritize consensus above all else. They just want to give you the safest possible answer.
Driven by that exact frustration, let's look at the gap this tool fills. We need to understand the two extreme ends of AI research today.
You really have two completely opposite extremes right now. First, you have your standard, everyday, normal web search. This type gives you SEO-friendly headlines and highly polished articles.
It basically feeds you whatever already ranks well on Google.
Right, and that is fine if you just need basic facts. But those optimized articles completely miss what everyday people actually think. They strip away all the raw emotion of a trending topic.
People optimize those articles to please the search engine algorithms. They just pack them with keywords instead of genuine human insight. So if standard search is too shallow, what is the other extreme?
The other extreme is what we call full deep research. This approach goes entirely in the opposite direction. It takes anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes just to run. It spins up multiple autonomous AI agents to scour the web, and it burns through a truly massive number of tokens.
We should probably pause and define that technical term for a moment.
Think of tokens as the basic currency AI uses to process words.
Perfect. So deep research is incredibly thorough, but expensive.
I agree.
And very slow. If I just want to know if a software update is buggy, I don't want to wait 20 minutes.
Exactly. And that is the massive gap we are talking about today. Enter the Last 30 Days Skill. This is a brilliant open source tool. It currently has around 55,000 stars on GitHub. It actually hit #1 on the trending list recently.
Hitting #1 on GitHub is a massive signal of developer approval. Why are they gravitating toward this specific tool right now?
Because it searches where the messy, unpolished human conversations actually happen. It completely bypasses those polished, keyword-stuffed SEO blogs. It goes straight to the source of the chatter.
Where exactly is it looking to find that raw human sentiment?
It pulls data directly from major social media platforms. We're talking about deep dives into Reddit, X, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. It also scans professional networks like LinkedIn and visual platforms like Pinterest.
And newer text platforms like Bluesky, right?
Yeah, it pulls from Bluesky, Hacker News, and GitHub, too. It even pulls from Polymarket to see how people are betting money.
Okay, let's unpack this. If it's just scraping social media, how is it different from just searching Twitter manually?
Searching manually means you are completely at the mercy of the algorithm. You only see the top picks or the loudest, most controversial voices. The Last 30 Days Skill actually ingests the raw data files behind the scenes.
It pulls the full context instead of just the highlights.
Exactly. It pulls in all the replies and the broad platform reactions.
Right.
Then, it synthesizes all of that chaos into a clear report. But crucially, it keeps the raw JSON data securely on your machine. You can inspect the original receipts later if you want.
So it digests the raw chaos into a summary, but keeps the receipts beat.
That is the perfect way to describe it, actually. It gives you the high-level narrative and the foundational evidence simultaneously.
To see if this actually works better than a regular search, we need proof. We need to look at the side-by-side test outlined in the source material.
Yeah, the sources outline a truly fantastic, revealing test case for this tool.
The test case asked Claude Code a very simple, straightforward question. The prompt was just, what are people saying about Claude Opus 5?
Right, which is a very standard sentiment check for a new product launch.
When they ran that prompt using a plain web search, the result was fine. It provided a decent surface-level summary of the top tech articles.
It summarized the official launch announcements and the corporate press releases, basically.
It was functionally useful, but totally disconnected from any true user sentiment. It just parroted the marketing materials back to the user.
But then they ran that exact same prompt using the Last 30 Days Skill, And the sheer depth of the resulting data pool was staggering to see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The skill instantly grabbed 22 different active Reddit threads. It pulled 13 highly engaged posts from X. It transcribed 14 full YouTube videos and 26 different TikToks.
All of that processing power dedicated to one single user prompt.
Right. And it kept going from there. It grabbed 13 different Instagram reels discussing the AI launch.
That is just a massive amount of data.
It is. It also scanned 16 trending hacker news stories and 25 GitHub repository items. It even checked the Polymarket data to see the betting odds on its success.
Here is where it gets really interesting for me. The final report didn't just say that people were talking about Opus 5. It actually broke down exactly how different communities were talking about it.
The subtle nuances it picked up were absolutely fascinating.
For example, and notice that users framed Opus 5 as cheaper than Fable 5. That was a major dominant narrative, specifically on the short-form video platforms. But crucially, the tool found that the real backlash was hiding deep in the comments. The negativity wasn't in the original posts or the video scripts at all.
Well, this highlights a very classic, very common internet behavior pattern.
Yeah, everyone plays to the algorithm first.
Exactly. Creators often post something overwhelmingly positive just to get that initial algorithmic engagement. Then, the real nuanced debate happens organically down in the replies.
A standard AI web search completely misses that underground debate. It just reads the overly positive main post and assumes everyone is happy.
Which is incredibly misleading if you are trying to do real market research.
If the backlash is hidden in the comments, how does it know the difference between a real trend and just one loud, angry troll?
That brings us to the genius of its internal ranking system. Last 30 days actively looks for distinct, recurring patterns across multiple different platforms.
Right, it looks for consensus.
Yeah, one angry guy shouting in a Reddit thread gets largely ignored.
Yeah.
But if that exact same specific complaint appears on Reddit, X, and YouTube, then the system flags it as a validated widespread signal.
Repeated signals hold the weight in the system, not just isolated high-volume noise.
Exactly.
It cross-references complaints across platforms so one loud troll doesn't skew the data.
That is exactly how it works. The algorithm prioritizes broad consensus over sheer volume from a single source.
Before we unpack the heavy engineering required to actually process all that, let's take a quick pause.
All right, and we are back.
We just saw how last 30 days filters out the noise to expose hidden trends. Now, I want to understand the actual mechanics behind how it does this.
The underlying workflow is actually a brilliant, highly structured 7-step process. You can trigger it simply by typing /last 30 days inside Claude Code.
Or you can just ask for it naturally in a normal conversation, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is very flexible.
I assume step one is just giving the system your chosen topic.
Yes, step one is incredibly simple and intuitive. You just give it a rough, unpolished topic. You briefly tell the AI what you want to research.
This raises an important question. If it does all this heavy lifting, what happens if I just give it a terrible one-word prompt?
Well, that takes us directly into step 2 of the workflow. The system automatically takes your terrible, rough idea and analyzes it.
It acts as an editor.
Right, and then it translates it into a highly focused professional research prompt. It does all of this optimization before it even starts searching the web.
Ah, so it fixes your bad prompt before it even starts the actual search.
Yes, it essentially protects you from your own lazy or vague typing habits.
That drastically helps with the prompt drift issues I mentioned earlier. So what happens in step 3?
Step 3 is the intelligent source selection phase. The system analyzes your new prompt and decides which platforms are most relevant.
It's like having a librarian who knows exactly which room of the internet to check.
That is a great way to put it. Step 4 is where the heavy lifting of the actual search begins. A dedicated Python script runs the search across all those selected platforms in parallel.
I want to break down that concept of parallel processing for a second. Doing these searches sequentially would take forever.
Oh, it would be agonizingly slow.
It would be like sending one guy to visit 12 different grocery stores in a row. Doing it in parallel is like sending out 12 interns simultaneously.
Right, and that parallel approach saves a massive amount of computing time. It prevents the system from timing out while waiting for a slow website.
That makes perfect sense.
Then, step 5 is where it dives into the deep, messy content. This is where it actively reads the video transcripts, the comments, and the nested replies.
And step 6 is the ranking process we talked about.
Exactly. Step 6 ranks all those collected signals based on cross-platform repetition.
That ranking step is what filters out the trolls we discussed earlier.
Right. And finally, we arrive at step 7. It synthesizes everything and writes the comprehensive final report. It also neatly delivers all those raw JSON data files for your own review.
Whoa, 2-sec silence. Imagine it scraping and synthesizing transcripts from dozens of TikToks and YouTube videos simultaneously just to answer one question. That's incredible.
It really is a marvel of modern parallel processing and data synthesis.
You mentioned smart source targeting back in step 3. Let's dig into the logic behind that targeting for a moment.
The dynamic source targeting is what makes the tool so remarkably efficient. If you ask it to research a brand new AI coding tool, it adapts instantly.
It knows where the audience is.
Right. It immediately focuses its processing power on checking hacker news and GitHub.
Because it knows that is where software developers actually hang out and argue.
Exactly. But if you ask it about a viral creator trend or a fashion brand, it pivots its entire strategy completely.
It skips the developer hubs.
Yeah, it actively skips GitHub and heavily targets TikTok, Instagram, and Bluesky instead.
To prove that this targeting workflow actually succeeds, the sources ran a very meta live demo. They decided to test the last 30 days skill on itself.
I loved reading this part. They literally fed it the prompt to research what people are saying about the last 30 days skill.
The results from that meta prompt came back in about 5 minutes. It successfully generated a crisp, highly accurate one-line summary of its own tool. It also pulled live engagement stats on how much attention it was getting from developers.
It went even further and identified the core narrative driving its own sudden hype. It noted that people loved it specifically because it fixed generic AI research habits.
It also mapped out its own cross-platform patterns perfectly. The report showed exactly how many Reddit threads and tweets it analyzed to build the summary.
And it provided the exact raw file paths for the JSON data on the local machine.
The researchers ran that exact same prompt with a regular web search afterward. The regular search totally missed all of the platform-level emotional reactions.
It just gave a boring, highly technical summary of the GitHub repository README file.
Since the system is doing this massive parallel data pull from all these platforms, it brings up a practical question.
Yeah, the technical hurdles.
Exactly. Setting this up must require jumping through a lot of technical hoops. What is the catch when it comes to installing it on your machine?
The setup process is actually divided into 3 distinct source tiers. You have the automatic tier, the dependency-based tier, and finally the API key-based tier.
If automatic is totally free and plug and play, I'm guessing the dependency tier requires me to actually get my hands dirty in the terminal.
That is a very accurate assumption. Let's start with the automatic sources first, though. These work right away immediately after installation. You do not need to hunt down any API keys.
They are totally free to use without limits, right?
Yes. Platforms like Reddit and Hacker News usually fall safely into this category.
What does that middle tier, the dependency-based tier, actually require you to do?
These sources need a little extra machine setup on your end. You might need to use your terminal to install a specific Python software library first.
But once that library is installed, they're still usually completely free to run.
Exactly. Which leaves the final, most complex tier, the API key-based sources.
Let's define that acronym for anyone who might not be a developer.
Think of an API as a digital bridge between 2 separate programs.
These API sources require you to get outside permission keys from the social platforms themselves.
Right. And those platforms usually want to charge you for that access.
Let's talk about the actual financial costs for those specific API platforms.
X, formerly Twitter, is the main platform that currently costs money to scrape. It requires you to set up an official XAI API key.
Based on extensive testing in the source material, it costs about 10 cents per run. I have to push back a little on the idea that this is cheap.
Oh, it definitely adds up.
10 cents per run adds up fast if you are heavily researching a topic all day. If I run 50 queries tweaking my research, that is $5 just for Twitter data.
You are absolutely right, which is why token management is so critical. You have to be strategic.
How do the other platforms compare?
Well, TikTok and Instagram handle access a bit differently. They use something called a scrape creators API key.
Does that specific creator key cost money per run as well?
It actually can, but the tool's installation flow actually helps you out here. It guides you to set up a subsidized developer account.
That initial account gives you thousands of free API calls up front, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's basically free for a long while before you ever hit a paywall.
For normal, everyday use, you might get up to 6 months completely free.
Exactly. Let's talk about the final verdict on this workflow. When should the listener actually deploy this tool in their daily life?
First, let's establish some boundaries and cover when you should emphatically not use it.
Right, the anti-use cases.
Do not use this tool for quick, simple fact checks. Do not use it for basic dictionary definitions or historical dates.
And definitely do not use it for massive, formal academic literature reviews.
Using a parallel processing social scraper for a dictionary definition is ridiculous overkill.
Absolutely. Regular, simple web search is still the undisputed best option for quick facts. Full deep research is still the best option for massive, peer-reviewed academic reviews.
So where's the exact sweet spot for the last 30 days skill?
You do use it for finding real, unvarnished user sentiment. You use it for fast-moving cultural topics and sudden product launches.
It is absolutely perfect for gauging sudden, unexpected market reactions.
It truly is the ultimate middle ground in the current AI landscape.
So what does this all mean for daily use? Should I bother connecting X and TikTok immediately, or wait?
The source material offers a very clear, very practical recommendation here. Start only with the automatic, free sources first. Get comfortable with how the system works without spending a dime.
Only connect the API-based platforms when you absolutely need them.
Right. Wait until you have a specific high-stakes research question that demands that specific social data.
Start with the free, automatic sources and only pay for APIs when necessary.
It is the smartest way to manage your tokens and protect your wallet.
Let's connect all of this back to the bigger picture of how we seek out information. We have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have. The evolution of these specific AI research tools is moving incredibly fast.
We started by looking critically at the major flaws in our current tools. Regular AI web search is incredibly fast and highly accessible.
But it is fundamentally structurally shallow.
It just reads the polished corporate press releases and the keyword-stuffed SEO blogs.
It basically just feeds you the PR version of reality.
Exactly. It sanitizes the world. Then you have the alternative of full, deep research.
Which is incredibly thorough and dives deep into academic papers.
But it is mathematically heavy, deeply expensive, and takes far too long.
Using full deep research to check a software bug is deeply inefficient.
The last 30 days skill perfectly bridges that frustrating gap. It allows Claude Code to ingest the actual messy reality of human opinions.
It scans simultaneously across the entire internet.
It reads the hidden, vicious arguments buried deep in the Reddit comments. It actively watches the video transcripts so you don't have to waste your afternoon doing it.
It stacks that scattered data like Lego blocks until a real, verified picture emerges.
The next time you need to gauge real human sentiment on a trending topic, give it a try.
Remember to start with those automatic, completely free sources first.
See what the internet is actually whispering about behind the polished headlines.
You might be deeply surprised by what you find hiding in that raw data.
I want to leave you with a final, somewhat provocative thought today. We used to struggle immensely just to find out what everyday people were thinking.
We relied on slow, expensive polling and flawed focus groups.
Now, AI can perfectly map out our messy, fragmented opinions. It can weigh millions of comments across a dozen platforms in just 5 minutes. Beaten. So if AI can now perfectly map out and weigh our messy, fragmented opinions across a dozen platforms in just 5 minutes, what happens when these systems start predicting our collective reactions to a product before the product is even launched?